Hello, Oxmeister.
Hi, thanks for having me here again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We are discussing a game you played in the PDT SuperPastis event. In this game, you were which country?
So I was playing France.
Okay, France. And how do you tend to feel about playing France? One of your favorites, one you don't like as much?
Well, I've not actually played a full game with France just yet. I was playing France at the same time in the PDL game, and I was maybe 4 or 5 seasons ahead. So I had a little experience, but I know that France is a strong power, and having a good result in the first round, I was hoping for a result which would sort of carry me through to the final, and therefore a defensive country really did suit me quite well.
Interesting. What was your thinking going into 1901 then?
So I was thinking maybe an England-France alliance would be a good thing to try. I played against good England-France alliances, so I was excited to maybe give that a go. And also with the tournament scoring system, I thought that England-France is very dangerous, but if you don't really need to stab each other for the solo because it's not valued as highly, maybe that could work. So that was kind of an idea going in, but I was going to talk to all the players, and if Germany was a sort of a more agreeable ally, then perhaps I'd go that way.
Briefly tell me, what kind of dialogues did you have with the other players?
Sure. So I spoke to everybody. England, I was quite open with, quite direct. I said, look, I'd like to try the England-France lines, pretty much for the reasons I explained to you. And initially, he had some reservations. I think he said France, he worries about France's strength. But those discussions kept going and got more positive with time. Germany, I was a bit more sort of talking about what we do in 1901, really. Belgium and Burgundy. I'm talking about the possibility of alliance, but not really touching on it in too much detail. Russia and Italy was really just about building relationships, trying to get neutrality with Italy, and trying to tell Russia that we can be good allies in the long run. So let's share intelligence, and if you can tell me what you're doing in the north, and maybe we can get on the same page there.
Interesting.
And then Austria and Turkey, obviously, just kind of pretty plain. Welcome hello messages.
And did you suggest to Russia that you and they might do anything against Germany? I don't know, because of the fact that you're working with England, I'm guessing that'll be your first target.
So I exchanged a couple of messages with Russia, and it was interesting because very early, I think after maybe 2 or 3 messages, I could tell who the Russian player was from the press style. So I played with this player before. I knew her to be a very loyal alliance player. And so I thought, okay, whoever's team that she ends up on, she will be a very loyal player, and that might be better if it's our team. I'm talking with England after a few messages. I think it was England who actually suggested, have you spoke to Russia? Could we get an EFR going? At which point I thought, okay, that's not a bad idea. It transpired that Germany had offered Russia Sweden, and obviously Norway, and he was going for 3 builds. So he told me he was going for 3 builds. He said he would like Belgium, to which I said I decided in the fall. But he was clearly making very clear to Russia that they were going to get Sweden. So that was a complication there. So I did suggest we move against Germany, but it took a little bit of time to embed that. And I think it was the 3 builds that Germany was going for really helped me make the case to England and Russia that, okay, we could have a real problem with Germany here because, once they've got 3 builds, there could be a danger to everybody. Maybe they're a bit more of an individual. So that's the angle I went with, really.
Looking at how the season played out, I can really see how Germany would be contending for 3 builds here. Was everything else pretty much what you were expecting, or any big surprises here?
I think most of it was a surprise, really. Obviously, I ordered my unit to Burgundy, and I expected that to succeed. I had actually suggested to Germany that we, or rather should be DMZ Burgundy. His reply was to say that he could take Belgium by the Ruhr and didn't need to go to Burgundy, which I thought was interesting because it's just a little bit too ambiguous for my liking. And therefore, I replied in kind saying I can take, because I told him I would want to influence Belgium. And I said I could be next to Belgium by a Picardy, and also didn't need to go to Burgundy. After a few messages from England, I think that was always on the cards. Russia seemed to get moved on by both Austria and Turkey, which was a surprise to her. And they obviously both convinced her otherwise. Italy moves into Trieste, which is again quite a surprise because Austria really claimed that they had no idea that this was happening, and I was sceptical. But there we go.
It's a common Italian move, even sometimes without Austrian pre-approval, but it is always a little bit of a jarring thing to see for me in 1901, no matter where I am, unless I'm Italy.
Yes, I expressed that kind of skepticism, I suppose, to Austria, who said, why is it that everybody always thinks it's a Kilo Panto? He was pretty sure that it wasn't a commission, so I don't know.
Yeah, this doesn't really look like a Kilo Panto because of the fact that Austria's moved everything south and north to attack Russia and take Greece. Italy's moved into Trieste, but Italy's moved also Rome into Venice, so Italy can support to hold in Trieste. And Austria, meanwhile, has opened up Vienna or Budapest for a potential Italian attack, and it would be a very trusting Austria to do all that on purpose.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And the other thing is that Italy, when I first messaged Italy in the spring, pretty much Italy's first question was, okay, going east is fine, but where's my fifth build coming from? Which I thought was an interesting question to ask of France. And so I spoke to Austria and said, okay, I think Italy could be quite keen to grow, and you'll want to take that into account. And so he said to me, yes, you were right.
Yeah, seems like you were very right. On the bright side, Austria has that Turkish ally, hopefully.
It seems that way, which is a shame. I was actually hoping that Turkey and Russia would get together and be an alliance, and we kind of eventually meet somewhere in the middle. But yeah, clearly Russia has worked from here.
Well, what about the West? Did those events occur according to your expectations?
Yeah, so everything was, with England, I think that was all agreed, and Germany was what I was expecting, what he said he would do.
Yeah, it did sound like what he said he would do. Going to the fall, what were your plans?
So basically take the Iberian centres. I had no choice here, but I prefer to have my army in Portugal so that my fleet can then move into the Mediterranean or the Atlantic. But obviously I didn't have the opportunity, so that has to go to Portugal. The army has to go to Spain, and then I was hoping to support England into Belgium. And I was trying to sort of send confusing messages to Germany, which sort of made clear that I had hostile intentions so that he would protect Munich. But we'll see in a moment. I think he saw through that.
Yeah, he still went for Belgium, and looks like Belgium remains neutral for now with that.
Yes, which was actually okay. I mean, I wasn't, that's bad for England. I wasn't too distraught about it because that means I'm stronger than my ally. And now Germany, who England had told me that Germany was still trying to get him on board after my move to Burgundy, and now he's obviously coming up against England. So that's quite a beneficial situation, actually.
Yeah, Germany was too greedy.
I think so.
Seems like voluntarily giving up Belgium could have won him England to his side, but now England's firmly in your camp, I guess.
I think so.
And what are your thoughts about the rest of the board then? You think Russia might be on board with you against Germany now? Yeah,
Russia's definitely saying that. And I think with Germany moving, basically, as he told everyone, he was very honest, but moving pretty much in line with what he said he would do, it was just very clear that he was going for 3 builds. I think that also Russia maybe wasn't getting on with Germany. There was maybe a personality thing, perhaps. So I was becoming more confident that Russia would move with us. But I still had in the back of my mind that, okay, they were getting Sweden. So that's like a really good thing for Russia. So maybe they'd have like some gratitude to Germany.
Gratitude seems to be short-lived in this game. In the south, we see that Italy continues to move in a way that I'd consider to be kind of aggressive toward Austria. Austria doesn't try to retake Trieste, really, just tries to keep Italy from getting anything further this season. And Austria does manage to get Romania with Turkish help, as well as getting Serbia and Greece. So despite losing Trieste, Austria is up by 2.
Yes. An interesting situation, because I do wonder what would have happened if Austria wasn't losing Trieste, because I think Turkey would have been wanting to save Romania. In the end, it goes to Austria.
Yeah, it's interesting. We go to the build phase, and Italy gets exactly what I would expect from Italy. Yes. Austria gets the only units that Austria can get, given what happened. Turkey builds a fleet, anti-Italy, because Italy's kind of gone rogue. I guess Italy doesn't really have any friends. You get a southern fleet and the Paris army. So why don't you tell us about your reasoning there?
Sure. So I think Paris army, I absolutely have to build. I need another army against Germany.
Oh, yeah.
And so really it's just a question of whether I build in Brest, Marseille, and what unit I build. Italy was quite clear with me that a fleet would be a declaration of war against Italy, and he wanted me to build an army. But then I thought I'd have 4 armies and 1 fleet, which just seemed like an awful mix of units. And if anything went wrong, I wouldn't then have the chance to rectify it, and I'd be pretty defenseless against England as well. So I didn't really like the idea of having an army. So I said to Italy, I said, okay, are you going to support me into Munich? To which he said, well, what am I getting out of the deal here? Which is just a fair point. But I just felt that I couldn't agree with Italy, so I had to build the fleet.
Yeah, sounds like Italy was very much concerned about the bottom line, what's in it for me, not really thinking about how to negotiate with you or Austria or Turkey to mutual advantage, more just thinking, what can I get right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think because he'd moved in the way that he had, and I knew that he had Austria against him. I wasn't sure that he had Germany against him, but I felt that I had friends in that battle if it was going to go that way. I wasn't definitely going to attack Italy at this point, but I was okay with becoming hostile with Italy because I felt he wouldn't have support.
Yeah, I think it seems like a good judgment call to me there. What were you thinking in terms of the next season's moves?
So in the sort of northern part of France, I didn't want to lose Burgundy because I was opening up another front against Italy. So I decided to defend there and attack in the south. And I formed a 3-way with Austria and Turkey, very clearly allied, and which we called the Italian job. And basically said, okay, let's all move towards Italy and just divide these centres up. The agreement being that I would get Tunis, Turkey would get Naples, Austria would get Venice, and then Rome would kind of depend on, how much I contributed and how much Austria had contributed, and we'd work it out at the time.
I love the name, let me say, and I think that sounds like a good plan for the 3 of you guys to get some growth, get rid of this scatty Italy, and quickly create a secure area for yourselves.
Yes, and I think by the spring phase as well, Germany was messaging me saying, okay, why don't you not attack me and focus on Italy? Which is giving us both problems. So that was good because it kind of reassured me that Germany and Italy weren't friendly either.
Yeah. Going to the spring, I see that Germany is under attack by England and Russia. So Russia's gratitude very short-lived, very, very short-lived, really. And you're moving south against Italy as expected, while advancing your Spanish army into Marseille so that you can potentially do something more with that pretty soon. Germany's only advancement is into Belgium.
Yes, which I thought he would do, but I didn't really want to take the risk of trying to bounce him. So in hindsight, maybe the bounce was a more obvious move, but because I was opening up another front, I wanted to play safe there.
Turkey makes an interesting choice here, moving the Black Sea Fleet into Sevastopol instead of the army. Any idea why Turkey did that?
Yeah, so there was a negotiation. So I was trying to help Russia because Russia, I thought, was going to be an ally. And obviously, Russia did become an ally. Russia, I think, had suggested a fleet going into Sevastopol. And I said, when I opened up the thread about Italy with Turkey and Austria, I said, maybe take Sevastopol with the fleet, and then you can have a ceasefire with Russia because Russia got plenty on. And so I think everybody was telling Turkey, or rather me and Russia were both telling Turkey, put a fleet there, focus on Italy. So maybe that was part of it.
Oh, that's clever. Good negotiating strategy there, because that does save Russia's bacon, really, and preserve the Russian Empire to fight another day, perhaps alongside you, while also placating Turkey a bit.
Yeah, I wasn't too concerned about Turkey so much, but what you said about Russia was absolutely thinking. Just try and keep Russia viable was the objective.
Anything else you consider noteworthy about this spring of 1902?
I did try and get Italy at one point to see whether Italy might make a move on Munich after saying that they wouldn't support me there, to see whether that unit would move. But Italy wasn't that daft, so he supported.
Italy hadn't become friendlier after you built your southern fleet?
Italy was still talking at this point, so that's why I was suggesting ideas, but I think he saw that moving Tyrone would be a bad idea. He needed it for support.
And going into the retreats, we see that Germany retreats into Kiel, and Russia retreats into Ukraine, has those armies tightly packed there in central Russia, but they don't seem like they'll be much use, really. And in the fall, you seem to be going full out against Italy now, while Germany essentially remains constant, is just hunkering down, trying to endure. England and Russia are repositioning to try and sort of crush in on Germany. And it's looking like you're going to be growing more quickly than your ally of England because of the fact that Germany is still so solid. How are you feeling about that?
That's always the idea, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, Germany's managed to hold on to 5 centres still, but the next year is basically going to be surrounded, which is good. And I've got a front opening up against Italy, which is hopefully going to provide something. I did wonder if I'd get bounced, but this is the first season that we see Italy either not send any orders or just make all hold orders. Hence, I was able to get in position without any bounces. I think that's right. Or did Italy? No, so Italy did move this season.
Yes.
But I got into position. So for next year, that's a good position.
Yeah, Italy attempted to use supports and keep Trieste and hit Albania and stuff. The problem Italy has is that Italy is Italy's only ally, so every support is being cut or is insufficient, and Italy loses Trieste. Italy's down to 4 after, his opening concern was how do I get up to 5, and end of 1902 he's back down to 4, and everyone is his enemy. So
yes, I do remember. I think it was about this stage actually that Italy was saying that he was let down by Austria. So obviously, I don't know. I wasn't party to any of their press. It seemed unlikely, but he was saying he was let down by Austria, and that he would just give me his sentence. I just needed to be patient or something along those lines, which I didn't really want to do because I had units that could move in and actually do the business. So I moved anyway.
Strange to think of how Italy could have been let down by Austria at all when Italy moved into an Austrian home center in 1901.
So I did wonder whether there was actually some sort of key banter discussed here that then Austria changed his mind. But actually, with what you said, that does sound unlikely. So
no, but I mean, diplomacy can get very tangled. People can be very tricky. It does seem questionable. Build phase this time, you don't get any builds because you didn't really get anything. England does get a build because England gained Denmark. What were your expectations heading into 1903?
Carry on the war against Germany and actually make some progress and hopefully take Tunis. And I was actually hoping that I could maybe agree something with Italy, and I was starting discussions. I had a 3-way with England with Italy. England was sort of trying to be an ally to Italy, and also Russia was trying to talk to Italy. And so I was trying to say, okay, I'll move my 3 units to defend you against Austria and Turkey, and in return, I would like a bill to finance that. So, can I have Tunis? Which, he wasn't going along with any of these ideas at this stage. But that was what I was hoping to do. Still at this stage, while all of us making progress against Germany.
Going into the spring, I see that Italy probably should have agreed to let you have Tunis because Italy's not holding on to it anyway.
It doesn't make any moves in this phase. So, as I said, it's either all holds or an NMR. We don't really, at the time, I obviously thought it was an NMR. So yeah, there's nothing defended. But obviously, Ioning's tapped anyway, so it's always going to be a guaranteed move.
It's probably a no moves received, yeah. Elsewhere, I see that England and Russia continue to move against Germany, seems like. Repositioning a bit so that Germany is now surrounded on all sides, really.
Yes. I think this season there may be an error. I think England tries to convoy the army to Denmark, but writes the order wrong. So the army ends up staying in Yorkshire, which isn't really very helpful because that would be another unit on Kiel.
Yeah.
Presents problems before.
Well, that is a shame. Let's go to the fall then. And you finally got your support into Munich. I hope you're happy. And you take Berlin. I'm guessing that your support into Munich is some kind of effectively a reward for you being so helpful to Russia in their negotiations earlier and being a good friend, keeping them alive.
Yes, by this stage I had a very strong alliance with Russia. I'd probably say stronger than the alliance I had with England, although people on the board didn't realise that. And so really the objective with these 4 moves, they were actually Russia's suggestions in the end. But the objective was to make sure that whatever happened, Russia was guaranteed to get a build, because really she needed the build more than any of the others of us did. And I was getting Tunis as well. So this was a set of moves which would basically guarantee Russia a build and give me a better chance for a build from Munich than England would get from Belgium, because Germany had defended Belgium with Holland, and that was quite an obvious order for him. So it went to plan.
good on you having things come together this way.
The other interesting piece of negotiation is I really thought Austria was going to help Germany because Germany had been doing Austria favours, just small little favours. And so I said to Austria, okay, I said to Austria and Turkey in our three-way conversation that I'm going to hold the Ionian with Tunis. It doesn't stop you from taking it, but you need to use all of your units in doing that, in taking the Ionian and then taking Venice. So that ruled out Austria from being able to use Adriatic and Venice and help Germany with Tyrolia.
I see. Are you starting to get worried at all about the Mediterranean powers around you? Because Austria and Turkey are looking kind of like they might not stop at Italy where they are now.
Yes, that was a concern, and I was trying to talk to Italy. Italy actually destroyed in the retreat phase, but I was trying to talk to Italy and say, look, I will hold you for from here against Austria and Turkey. And I thought that wouldn't be a bad situation because I could get Belgium from Germany, and I could get to 9 centres and or maybe it's 8 centres, I can't remember, and maybe I can win with just that because it would stalemate everything.
Italy just decided to give up and be kind of seems like a sore loser to me when somebody starts to do that, but that's just.
It kind of threw my plan out of the window a little bit, so I was more just kind of a little bit worried and thinking like, what am I going to do here? Because now Austria is going to walk into Rome and Turkey is going to walk into Naples. So yeah, I think both me and Russia were just quite worried at this stage.
Well, so what was your plan now at this point with Italy no longer participating in the game, Germany reduced to 3 centers, Austria and Turkey looking very strong and very well united, and England hanging up above your head at 5 centers, so smaller than you, but doesn't have this other front to be worried about right now.
Yeah, so I did have to change plan a little bit because I wanted to hold Italy, which wasn't going to happen. So at this point, I sent a very long message to Turkey, which was basically about a plan about how he could stab Austria, why that would be a good idea, and I covered really quite a lot of ground. But I'd also worked out who the Turkish player was, and I was playing a PDL game at the same time. And I was getting messages from the same time in both games from a player, so I thought, okay, I know who this is, or I've got a good idea who this is. And again, it's an alliance player, but I did feel he would be quite receptive to a long message explaining the plan. And that seems to be what happened because we then had lots of discussions and he was cautious at first, but on board with the idea.
Interesting. Anything else that you should note before we go on to the to 1904?
So we're in the build phase of Earth 3 at the moment, aren't we? So England wanted to immediately take, with support, take Belgium and I think Kiel. Is that right? Those ones work. Yeah, he immediately, or maybe it was Holland, I can't remember. He immediately wanted to get into 2 centres in the spring, and that was a concern for both me and Russia. I reached out to Russia about this because that would mean in the fall he would have Norwegian Sea and North Sea because he would convoy, and they would have nothing to do apart from to help us. But equally, they could do something quite unhelpful and either go into to Barents, or they could go into English Channel and North Atlantic at the same time. So there was quite a lot of messaging between myself and Russia about how we could refocus the discussions to stop England from doing that and come up with a better alternative. And
were those discussions productive? Was there an agreement reached?
Yes, that's right. So England was a good ally. We talked well throughout the whole game. I think he just wanted to get his centres, banked in the spring, so to speak, and that's why he wanted to do that. But when we explained that, okay, it was better in the spring for us to make movements so that we could get more units towards Austria, he understood. And we did ask him, and we just said that Norwegian Sea's been there for a long time. Really, that can move.
And I see that as the orders process, England gets into Kiel, moves Norwegian Sea to North Sea. This must make Russia feel a bit more secure.
A bit more, sorry?
I said this must make Russia feel a bit more secure.
So it takes a unit out of Norwegian, which I think is what Russia wanted all along. And I didn't really like it either while there was a unit in the North Sea. So, it solved all the problems because we could still get those centres in the fall. We'd have the units in place to do it.
Meanwhile, in the south, it seems that Austria and Turkey did get Roman Naples. You are self-bouncing in the Mediterranean Sea. Interesting. Why didn't you just take it?
So this was part of my agreement with Turkey. So Turkey, when I discussed with Turkey to stab Austria, his concern was then about me getting too powerful and going through to his side of the Mediterranean, which I thought was unlikely. But nevertheless, he was very concerned about that. So we made an agreement there that he was basically saying, my pitch to Italy, to Turkey, is that we could share the ball top, and he was saying, okay, but I don't want you going any further. I think he said the Mediterranean Sea, but anyway, we agreed to bounce it. It was just a peacekeeping measure, really.
And were you planning on keeping this peace, or were you hoping to exceed Turkey and be at the top of everybody?
So, I was definitely planning at some point to go to the Mediterranean. I didn't want to lose control of it. Yeah, I was hoping to get the board top, but I was trying to keep peace with Turkey, at least for this point, because, at this point, he's still not stabbed Austria. So, obviously, we want Turkey to stab Austria first.
And so, after having this success against Germany, what was the plan in fall?
So, the plan in fall was to support England into, I think, Russia was actually supporting England into So is this the fall or the spring season we're looking at here?
This is the spring. So if you're supporting England somewhere, it has to be either Holland or Belgium, I think.
Yeah, no, I think the plan was that England had the unit to take Holland, and I think this is where I take Belgium, I'm not sure.
And we see it is, in fact, the season where you take Belgium and England takes Holland.
Yeah, so England gets their two centres and I take one.
And I see Russia also gets a centre off of Austria.
Yes.
Where were you guys thinking the game would go from here? Oh, and Turkey stabbed, or at least Turkey got an Austrian centre, Serbia. So it's hard to be sure if that's a stab or agreed to, but
no, these I do remember. These moves were all agreed. So we'd actually opened a four-way discussion by this point, which is unfortunate for Austria. But because Turkey knew I was allied with Russia and England by this point, we opened a four-way discussion. It was agreed that Russia would take Romania, and that Turkey would move up into Serbia.
I guess Austria is just out of luck.
It seems. I mean, by this point, I'd become in press. I'd started to become a little bit hostile with Austria. Austria was making the point to me that I'd not helped any of my allies to take a single centre, and I'd kept them weaker than me. And so clearly, I thought, okay, Austria's probably saying that to my allies as well, making that point to me.
What kind of argument is that to make to you and to your face? That's just a criticism.
Yeah, maybe, but I thought, okay, I really did need to make sure that Turkey stabbed Austria, because otherwise, I think if you go back a couple of seasons, Turkey, Austria, and England, if they had all got together, that could have been quite powerful.
Yeah, I think you're right. I certainly was worried about you being vulnerable to England at a season or two ago. England's now kind of sunk its fleets into Holland and Kiel, which makes it a lot less likely to be effective if it tries to fight you. But also, England doesn't really have anywhere else to go with those fleets but into you or Russia now.
Yes, it was a constant concern for myself and Russia. I suppose it's the problem within the FR alliance, is that you've got England behind lines.
Yeah, I was wondering how you would resolve that, or what the plan might be after Germany was gone, since that's the only common enemy that those three countries can all share.
Yeah, we just kept talking, and particularly with myself and Russia, and we were just trying to give England something to do with his units. But I mean, it was quite strange because, as I said, I knew who the Russian player was. The Russian player had a very good score in round one. I had a very good score in round one, so we were quite happy if we could end up with a really high score. I mean, I would always like to top the board, but if I ended up taking a share of it, that was actually not too bad. And Russia was in the same boat. England seemed to be happy with this as well, though. And we couldn't really understand, kind of what England's objective was, and so that made me always think, okay, maybe England is actually going to stab at some point. So we've just tried to keep him busy. I would make an argument in the three-way thread, which would have one type of logic, maybe moving against Austria or whatever it would be. Russia would make an argument on another type of logic, which would be, security. And we just kept talking.
So seems like you guys are kind of approaching a place where you might be thinking about endgame now.
Yes.
What was your plan going forward from here?
So there was also a four-way discussion as well, which included Turkey. And everybody now, between the four of us, everybody was now very friendly, even though Russia and Turkey had been at war. And it seemed that everybody just wanted a very peaceful four-way draw. I wasn't averse to it because I'd got a good score in round one. I knew that a four-way draw, even if I was just equal with the other powers, would guarantee me getting enough points to get on the top board realistically guaranteed me that. So I was okay with it as well. I did like the idea of maybe trying to make some progress, but it was clear that there was really very little appetite for it.
You know, this really illustrates how differently people think about diplomacy when they're in a tournament setting versus a single iterated game.
Yes,
because none of you were really trying to solo here at all, as far as I can tell. I mean, Turkey might have been at a certain point trying to solo, but Turkey understood that there was kind of a hard limit to how far they could go, given how strong you are looking, and given the fact that Turkey would have a difficult time proceeding through Russia right now. But it is interesting how the behavior seems so different, so much less aggressive, more cooperative in this tournament setting.
Turkey was very keen to, Turkey understood the scoring system. So I don't think that England and Russia did understand it until basically we were counting it later on. But I knew that Turkey understood it, as well as I understood it, and we talked through it together. And Turkey was very keen to get 9 centres each, so myself and Turkey, so that we shared the ball top with Russia and England on 8 centres each. And that would get Turkey a fairly good amount of points.
Oh, I agree. That's a pretty good conclusion for both of you. Going forward, I see that you get 1 new fleet, which I'm guessing that's for your security against potential backstabbery by England?
Yeah, absolutely. So by this stage, really, as I said, it seemed very clear that everybody wanted to play towards a 4-power draw. So yeah, it was just a unit for security. I didn't need a build for any other purpose.
Yeah.
But actually, England never told me they were building in Liverpool. So I knew that England had builds, and I thought that if England would build anything near to me, that it would be discussed. And so that was a bit of a surprise. And I spoke to England, and they said, "Okay, well, I wanted to build a fleet, but I thought if I built it in London, that would upset you." And actually, I would have preferred the build in London than Liverpool, because now it gives them the ability to go into Irish Sea or North Atlantic and to English Channel, which was the kind of thing I was trying to avoid.
Exactly, yeah. It's much more dangerous this way.
Yeah. But I think it was actually a genuine mistake on England's part. But at the time, I was sceptical.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, to me, it's pretty clear that a build in London is much less aggressive to France than a build in Liverpool. A build in London just keeps your options open.
Yes.
Going ahead, I see that you are entering the channel, taking no chances about letting England do that double move into North Atlantic or Irish and English Channel at the same time. At the same time, though, you're also moving all of your other fleets further away from England.
Yes, and so that's deliberate. But I did actually say to England, I did say, okay, I want to go to the Channel so that we can bounce, so that I know that the Channel won't be occupied at least. And England said, no, I can't go to the Channel because I've got to take my units back to my centres. I said, well, just bounce me in the Channel. That's safer for you than going back to your home centres. But anyway, he wanted to move back, so I said, okay, well, I'll move to the Channel. So it was notified. It was sort of agreed. So yeah, I didn't want to take any chances there.
Seems as if England is preparing to fight you.
No, I think England is just moving his units back, but I don't know why he wouldn't want to move to the Channel. I don't know.
I think from the movement of England's units that he was probably thinking about fighting you, because now he has 3 units that can all attack the English Channel, all positioned for that purpose. The weird thing is that he moves out of Kiel, because England should know that makes that space vulnerable to you. But otherwise, I don't know other than fighting you, I can't understand what the purpose of having all those units on the English island could possibly be. Unless England is just hoping to huddle up until the game's over or something.
I think so. I think maybe it was that, or maybe somebody else had spoken to him and given him an idea. I don't know. But I wasn't too concerned when I saw the moves play out, because I thought that okay, Russia was definitely. We had a sort of a NATO agreement between the 3 of us. If one attacked the other 2 would attack the one that had attacked, and I was fairly confident that Russia would act on that. And so. And then in the south, I was really trying to now make a move and get my units into position to take Rome.
Yes, good on you. Was that something that Turkey was expecting you to do?
I'm trying to remember back to the season. I really don't know. I'm not sure. Is the honest answer there. But yeah, I was moving. I was also talking to Austria as well. Again, by this point, and Austria was clearly quite anti-Turkey because Turkey has stabbed in. So yeah, I was seeing what I could do there.
Yeah, it seems as if you wanted to take Turkey out of this draw, you could do it now with Austria on board and anti-Turkey. You could end up being the sole board topper.
Yeah. So what I was thinking, this is spring, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I was thinking is I wanted to end the year with more centres than Turkey. So I wanted to get to 9, and ideally maybe Turkey still be on 8 because Turkey had to take Serbia back first before they could do anything. And then there might be a chance to say, okay, let's call an early draw rather than fight on and eliminate Austria. So I think at this point that was probably my main objective. Because I wasn't sure I would have the support from Russia to keep going all the way against Turkey. So Russia was a great ally defensively, but I wasn't sure that she would want to continue and divide the board further.
And what were you saying to Russia at this point, by the way?
I think that the discussions had become, we were probably talking a little bit less because I think that England and Russia were clearly just now playing the game out for the 4-way draw.
I suppose so. Russia's still getting some new centers from Austria. And Russia must be thinking that this is, the Russian comeback to some degree. Really, it's a moment of great vulnerability for not just Austria, but Turkey, I think. It's an opportunity. Russia could maybe take back Sevastopol, could become the other board topper alongside you, replacing Turkey. Turkey's just really made vulnerable by the fact that Austria is so bitter toward them. But I'm guessing Russia's not going to do that. Russia does get Vienna, and Turkey gets Trieste, with looks like your support.
Yeah, so I think in this season, Turkey wanted support from maybe Tyrolia and from Venice, and I did support from Venice. We had quite a lot of negotiation back and forth here, and as I said, I didn't really want Turkey to get both of those centres. So Turkey was trying to get Serbia and trying to get Trieste, and I spoke with Russia as well, and tried to make sure that Russia would pursue a Russia first policy, and actually Turkey did get into Trieste, but didn't get Serbia.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty good result for you for this season, except for losing Belgium, not quite so much.
So that was by arrangement, but
makes sense.
I'd arranged to give a centre back to England, but I said to England, okay, I'll give you the centre back, but can you dislodge me, please, so that if there was anything else that happened, because they did have a lot of units there, then I would have the chance to. I said I would go to Picardy if he dislodged me, but if anything else happened, then I'd have the opportunity to go to Ruhr or destroy or something like that.
Oh, that's clever. I do like that. And you also moved into Irish Sea. It's another insurance.
Yes, and again I offered a bounce, and this time England accepted the bounce, but I think forgot to make the order.
Yeah, seems like England didn't give orders to any units except for the ones involved in taking Belgium and to Liverpool moving to Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I mean, it feels like this game was relatively quick, but it's basically wrapping up now.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of this season, I think that we have everything that we discussed a year ago, other than Austria being Serbia. And so this is basically the moment I go into diplomatic overdrive, because this is the perfect result for me, because I've got 9 centres and everybody else is on 8. And so I message Russia, England, and also Austria and say, look, you will all get more points if we end the game right now than if we play on another year. And it's a really strange thing, but if you have a shared board top, the people beneath get fewer points than if you have a sole board topper. Don't ask me why, but it's just the way the numbers work. And so I was trying to say to Austria, why don't you propose the draw? Because I didn't want to seem to Turkey like I had this agenda, which I guess I did have. And then in the 3-way discussion, actually it was Russia that proposed the draw in the end. And I just basically made the point and said, look, as a group, we all do better if I top the board for us rather than fight another year. So
interesting. I'm surprised it's sorry.
Apart from Turkey, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised, actually. I don't think Russia does better by finishing now, either. I think Russia could have gotten several more centers if Russia wanted to start betraying people, but you said Russia's a pretty loyal person, so I guess if Russia's an alliance player, then we're not going to see that.
Yeah, perhaps at this point, perhaps I should be talking with Russia more about saying, okay, let's go further. And yeah, I think Turkey probably was vulnerable. And then, if England was kept in its place, that wouldn't be too hard to finish off as well. So yeah, we could have gone further, but at this point, for me, I was topping the board, so I was quite happy to call it at this point.
Oh yeah, I think Russia could have taken the board top from you if Russia was really determined to continue and fight in this game. But that's just my way I'm looking at it, is that there are these undefended centers in the middle here, Kiel and Munich, that Russia could have walked into. Russia could have taken Norway. Russia should have retaken Sevastopol. At any time, that one could have been taken. But Russia could have done the sneak attacks and grabbed 3 dots from the north and the center here that would have made Russia the board topper. Although, if the game went on beyond that, that might have caused everyone to attack Russia. So it's...
I think so. I mean, this was the benefit of having realised who some of the players were. And actually, the other strange thing is that England was actually my ally in the PDL game I was playing at the same time, and I never realised that one. But I did realise who Russia and Turkey were, and because I played once with Russia before, I knew exactly what type of player that she was, and that none of what happened at the end was a surprise to me. So that was built in, really. I mean, I would have probably defended Munich had it been another player.
Well, I can't say that understanding the other players is a disadvantage now. Yeah. Any final reflections on this final season, this final positioning of the game, the game as a whole that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think, this was quite a peaceful game. And I think probably the key was talking to everybody at every stage. That's kind of it, really.
It does seem like a little bit more of a straightforward game compared to a lot of them. Italy attacked Austria early on, and it probably resulted in both Italy's and Austria's defeats, because that's just what tends to happen when Italy attacks Austria, and everyone else came out looking pretty good, except for Germany got knocked out as well, because Germany tried to go for the 3 builds and it alarmed people.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of alliance players on this map, and I think that Germany and Italy were perhaps exceptions there, and I think that really dictated how it went, because the alliance players sort of allied together. Other than Austria, of course, which was just unfortunate because they're in the middle. So,
well, thank you for your reflections. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, you know what to do. If you want to provide additional support to the channel, there's a list of names on the screen right now. Those people are supporting the channel either by acting as patrons or by translating subtitles for me, so that the videos can be accessible in more languages. You too can promote great diplomacy content. Until next time, Florida Man out.